Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to second Master the Art of Presenting webinar. I am your host, Timo Sorri, and also the main organizer of Master the Art of Presenting event in Helsinki on 10th of September this year. Master the Art of Presenting is an event for speakers and leaders who want to deliver effective presentations. And today in this webinar, I have as a guest one of the keynote speakers, seven-time public speaking champion and a public speaking professional, John Zimmer. Welcome, John.
Hey, Timo, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. You're speaking to us from Geneva. How's everything in Geneva?
Geneva is great. Looking outside right now, a little bit of cloud, but very warm. Sun's coming through. You can tell winter is over and summer is on the way. Things are good here.
No, sounds great. It's also getting better, a whole lot better in Finland. Sun is shining every now and then also leaves coming to trees, so summer is approaching.
I guess anything with sunlight in Finland, that's always a plus after the long winter.
Yeah, you got that correct. But hey, let's dive into a few questions. So first of all, can you tell us a little about your background and your current work?
Sure. I'm from Canada originally. Moved to Geneva in 1998. When I was in Canada, I was a lawyer practicing commercial litigation and environmental law. And in 1998, I had a great opportunity to come to Geneva to work at the United Nations on a very interesting claims program. Came on a one-year contract, and 17 years later, we are still here. We are now Swiss citizens as well. At the UN, I was head of a commission that was set up after the first Gulf War in Iraq that dealt with all the claims from countries in the Middle East region after the first Gulf War, when the wells were blown and the oil was dumped in the Gulf, for all of the environmental and public health damage that was caused. That commission wound down. I went to another organization here in Geneva for another commission. And then most recently, the last 5 years, up until the end of February this year, I was working as a lawyer at the World Health Organization in Geneva. But along the way, I began doing more and more public speaking, both as part of my work, and then I got invitations, requests to help people with their presentations. This led to lecturing opportunities at the University of Lausanne, at the EPFL, another well-respected university here in Switzerland, University in Grenoble, and IES in Barcelona, as well as private clients on the side asking me to help them out. And so at the end of February this year, I decided to take the plunge full-time as a professional speaker, coach, and trainer. So that, in a nutshell, is a little bit about my professional background. I'm married. My wife is Julie. We've been married for 22, 23 years. We have two daughters, both in university, Alexandra and Kristen, and we have a cat too.
Okay. By the way, just for anyone joining this broadcast now, at the upper corner somewhere over here, you have the little grid where you can open the question and answers tools, and you can send in questions. And if we have time left at the end, we can take in some questions too. But let's go forward. So what was it that got you interested in becoming a good speaker?
I'd say it really, my interest was really peaked as a young lawyer practicing in Canada. I was very fortunate. I worked in one of Canada's largest law firms, had a big litigation practice. And they were very good about giving young lawyers opportunities to go into court on their own as junior counsel and to get up on their feet to speak. And in court, I was able to see a lot of great senior lawyers from the Toronto region and from across Canada come and plead their cases before judges. And it was always really compelling to me to see people able to convey a very persuasive argument on complicated issues, but in a manner that was compelling and that really held your attention. And so Fortunately, I was able to get a lot of practice on my own as well. Learned some tough lessons from a few tough judges along the way, but it all has paid dividends down the road. And then later on in Geneva, I would do speaking regularly as part of my job, both in Canada and then here in the United Nations system. But in 2007, I had friends who were members of Toastmasters, and they said, hey, you should come and join. And Toastmasters is a great place as well, where you can continue to hone your speaking skills, because there's no such thing as perfect public speaking. We're all on this climb together, and there is no, there's no end. You can only get better, but there's no such thing as a perfect public speaking. And so all of that really kind of piqued my interest to become better at it.
Okay, but there is such thing as champion in public speaking. So can you tell us a little bit about how does one compete in speaking?
Well, the only competitions that I've been involved with are those run by Toastmasters International. Toastmasters, that's one of the biggest speaking championships in the world. And there are different kinds of contests. For listeners who are not members of Toastmasters, there are 4 main types of contests, which I categorize very quickly as a serious speech, a humorous speech, impromptu speaking, where you've got to give an answer to a question or a topic for 2 minutes with no preparation. And then there's a 4th type of a contest called speech evaluation, where all the contestants listen to a speech. They go out of the room and they come back one by one, and they evaluate or critique the speech, what worked well, what didn't. In terms of what goes into a contest winning speech, here I'll focus mainly on the 2 prepared speeches, the serious speech and the humorous speech. Obviously, it's a lot of work in terms of thinking about a topic. You've only got 5 to 7 minutes, and if you go past 7.5 minutes, you're disqualified. So the message has to be really compact. You've got to make every sentence count. You want to rehearse, obviously, but at the same time, you don't want to over-rehearse. You don't want to overcook the speech. It's got to come across as natural. And, when all is said and done, at the end of the day, you get up there on the day and you just, you give the best speech that you possibly can, because it's in the hands of the judges. And I've played a lot of sports over the years in my life. And, if you're playing hockey or baseball or basketball, you score more goals, you score more points, you win. If you're in track and field, you cross the finish line first, you win. It's easy to see who wins. Public speaking contests, it's like figure skating, or it's like gymnastics. You got the contestants going one at a time, and you've got judges deciding, she gets 73, he gets 71. And it's very subjective. So at the end of the day, it's subjective. You change the panel of judges, very likely you'll get a different result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but winning 7 times, that's not only case of luck, unless you have bribed the judges every time.
I was going to say, it was very expensive winning that many times, very expensive winning that many times. No, it's, I really enjoyed competing, and lately I've taken a break from it. I've been participating, by coaching some people, by judging myself, being a judge myself. Being the contest chair, but I'll get back into the competition as well in the future, because it's fun. I enjoy the competition, the thrill. It pushes you a bit out of your comfort zone, and I'm lucky because I've had the support of a lot of good people, good speakers who have given me feedback. They've reviewed my script. They've given me good feedback on that, and I've made some changes. At my club, I've been able to rehearse speeches and get live feedback from people as well. It's, when you're in a speech competition, if you go far, the speakers are very much like the news anchor on the evening news. They're obviously the ones who are in the spotlight. These are the people that you see. But what the audience doesn't see is all the other people who have helped them to get up to that stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's the Master the Art of Presenting event that's mostly, or I'd say that it is directed to the people who do presentations in business context. And let's switch our discussion a bit to business presentation context. So why do you think that very often the business presentations are so different from what, for example, the Toastmasters speeches are, i.e., think quite boring quite often? What do you think is missing from business presentations?
I think it's a number of things. Oftentimes, people just don't have a whole lot of time to prepare. You know, in a perfect world, someone would come to you and say, listen, we've got this big client presentation coming up at the end of the month. Take the next couple of weeks, clear your desk, work on the presentation, and focus just on that. The reality often is, you know, the boss comes in to your office, it's Tuesday afternoon, I need you to give this presentation on Friday, and before Friday you've got to submit 3 reports as well, so you don't have a whole lot of time. That, I think, is one reason. The other reason is, I think people try to cover too much in their presentations. I've seen presentations, you know, 30 minutes, and people are trying to go through 30, 40 slides of very, very dense material. There's nothing wrong with 30, 40 slides in a half-hour presentation if the slides are well designed, if they're clean, if they're relatively simple. But, you know, when you have graph after graph just packed with data, or bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, there's no way that people can retain all of that information. Now, one thing I often hear, people will say, yes, but I give the slides out as a handout afterwards. Everything they need is in there. And I'll say, everything I need to know is in the slides? And they'll say yes. And then I'll ask them, I'll say, well, then why do I need you? And I don't mean that in a facetious or mean way, but literally, if all you're going to do is just cover what is on the presentation, you'll save everybody a whole lot of time, including yourself, if you just email everybody the presentation. It's really difficult to make a presentation that is both a good on-screen viewing document and a good takeaway document. If it's better one way, the other way is going to suffer. So that's another thing, another reason. And I guess the third thing that comes to mind is we've seen, you know, so many mediocre or bad presentations over the years. We get exposed to them that at some level, whether it's conscious or subconscious, people start to think, oh, this is the way a presentation has to be. And yet, when people start to break some of these presentation stereotypes, if I can call them this, if they start by not showing any slide and just tell a story, or they try and cover 3 points instead of 10, they realize that they're making much more of an impact. And it's always a pleasure. I mean, not every business presentation is a boring one. I've seen some really good business presentations. Some of the clients I'm working with now, in fact, I saw a woman gave a presentation on a product that her company is producing, and I saw this at a training just the other week, 2 weeks ago, and it was fabulous. I was hooked. Because she had all the good elements. There was data, there were bullet points, but there was also a story, and there was a story arc that tied the whole thing together. So it can be done. You can have an effective presentation.
Yeah. So preparation, simple slides, telling stories, and that's about the things that we are going to also cover at that Master the Art of Presenting event. What can you tell about the upcoming Master the Art of Presenting event? So what can people expect from it?
Well, I'm really excited about it because this will be the second year that I've been involved, as you well know, Timo. We had our first Master the Art of Presenting event last year in Helsinki, and it was not only a great success, it was a lot of fun as well. We had a full house. And people, I mean, the feedback was wonderful. People were engaged. People were asking questions. They were inquisitive. They wanted to participate. And so this year, I'm looking very much forward to this year's session, because it's going to be a bit bigger. We're going to have a different mix of speakers and covering things like, interacting with the audience effectively, I'm gonna be doing, one of the things I'm gonna be doing is a workshop on improvisation. I'm a member of an improv comedy troupe here in Geneva, which is an awful lot of fun, but you learn really important business and presentation skills when you do improv. We're going to cover designing effective slides, presenting in webinars, and a whole bunch of other things as well. It's a great lineup of speakers, and it's going to be interactive, and it's going to be fast-paced, and it's going to be a place to meet great people. I met some really super interesting people and all very nice people at last year's event, and I'm looking forward to meeting some more this year.
Yeah, there's actually, we have 3 Canadians in the lineup of this year.
That's always a good thing.
It's always a good thing, and I know that Canadians are as interested in ice hockey as we Finns are. And there's the World Championship of ice hockey going. So how do you think that's going to end up this year?
Well, I think Canada will win, and if Canada doesn't win, Canada should have won. But I'm biased. No, I mean I love hockey very much. It's probably the sport that's closest to my heart. But you know, in years gone by, you know, Canada was very much a dominating force, and the Soviet Union was very powerful as well. But I would say nowadays there are at least a half a dozen countries which in any given year could win the championship. Canada, the US, Sweden, Finland, Russia, and Czech Republic. Slovakia's got a very good team as well. Switzerland has a decent team as well. So it's much more evened out. It's not siloed. It's much more flat now, the talent. So we'll just have to see. And what's always interesting for the ice hockey championships is that all countries miss 1 or 2 of their great players because the National Hockey League in North America, the championship playoffs, the Stanley Cup is still going on. So a lot of the players, the really good players, cannot compete. So it's always interesting to see how teams cope with that. We should have had this webinar on ice hockey to start, maybe, and just a little bit of presentations at the end.
Yeah, let's hope that Finland wins.
Yes. Okay. Jari Kurri and Timo Solani would be very happy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm just gonna, by the way, if there are any questions, please do send them in. That somewhere over here you should see this, you have this grid sign where you can open the question and answers application and then send in questions. I'm just gonna tell briefly about the Master the Art of Presenting event. I have just one slide to show about it. Can you, John, confirm that you were seeing this?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So this event, Master the Art of Presenting 2015, will be in Helsinki at Scandic Park on 10th of September. It's going to be a whole day event with 3 keynotes. Here you can see the keynote speakers. Mona Moisala, she's a brain researcher and PhD candidate in Helsinki University, and she will cover the topic of presentations and the brain. John, you and myself, we will cover the topic of interacting with audience effectively. And then as the 3rd keynote speaker, we have Andre Noel Schaker, who is also Canadian and the Speaker of the Year in Finland. And he will be covering of maybe a little bit about storytelling and how to become the Speaker of the Year. In addition, we have 6 workshops, the topics ranging from effective body language to designing effective presentation slides to improvisation and presenting in webinars. We also have few great event partners from whom you will hear from the latest in presentation technology. Showwell is a mobile presentation platform and selling platform. So it's a way to deliver effective presentations on your tablet computer. SharpCloud is an application or a service for visualizing data such as sales pipelines, different types of numbers, and then turning them into interactive stories. And then Seidot, which is an internet age presentation application that turns your presentation into an interactive story.
I remember from last year's event, I found that some of the corporate sponsors who were there, who would then give a very short, 3-4 minute overview of the products and their ideas. I thought that was really interesting to see that, to bring that commercial aspect of presenting into the mix as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think that's it for this webinar.
Okay.
We still have the early bird ticket prices going until the end of this week, meaning Friday the 15th. So you can buy your ticket at, you can find the link on this Google Hangout page. It's havain.fi/master-the-art. But I will post the link also afterwards on this page.
Yeah, it's if you are going to be in Helsinki in September, mid-September, then it'd definitely be worth your while to spend the day with us. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting. It'll be a real opportunity both for networking and for personal growth, and a good time as well. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I appreciate you organizing the webinar, Timo.
Okay, thanks. Just have a great afternoon, all people watching this, and you too, John, and hope to see you everyone over there in Scandic Park Hotel in September.
Thanks, Timo. Kiitos.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.